The headliners, the newsmakers, the political scene, and government issues. These should be our concern. And we're taking you at the forefront. Good morning. I am attorney Karen Jimeno. Join me at the forefront as we zero in and discuss the details of some of the most pressing national issues that our country faces. Vice President Sara Duterte has been sparring with senators and congressmen in recent hearings for the 2025 budget of the Office of the Vice President. She had a verbal tug-of-war with Senator Risa Ontiveros, and yesterday she had an exchange of words with ACT Teachers Party List Congresswoman Franz Castro. VP Sara has been critical of President Bongbong Marcos's leadership and even apologized to her supporters for asking them to support BBM during the 2022 elections campaign. With all that's happening from the Duterte camp, how do we make sense of this political landscape? Gracing our program this rainy Wednesday morning, former Presidential Advisor for Political Affairs, Secretary Ronald Llamas. Good morning, Secretary Ronald.
Good morning, Karen, and to all your listeners.
Thank you for your time today. I know you're very much in demand.
My pleasure.
So let's start with all these verbal exchanges.
Yes.
First, what's your comment on Vice President Sara Duterte's recent verbal exchange with, let's start first with Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Well, to say it honestly, I was amazed. For a vice president, na ganun yung sagot niya. When she was asked about the budget, yung pagdoble ng ginagawa niya with other departments, ay nag-react siya na politicize yung statement. At nung tinanong siya tungkol dun sa kanyang libro, ay ganun din ang kanyang reaction. Politicize yung question. Pero nung pinaliwanag niya yung libro, nagmukhang yung libro ang politicized. No? Kaya medyo amazing yung incident na yon. At sabi nga ng mga ibang senador, sabi ni Senate President Chisa Escudero, ay gano'n naman talaga ang role ng Senate. Tanungin yung iyong budget, suriin ng maigi para magamit ng husto ng mamamayan. Pero yung kanyang reaction ay very unbecoming of a vice president. Kaya I was surprised. I was expecting her to be more circumspect at maayos yung sagot. Pero for a lawyer, ay napakaraming non sequitur. No, biglang tinanong niya si Senator Risa dun sa engagement nila noong 2016 na walang kinalaman dun sa issue ng budget. So,
What do you mean engagement in 2016?
halimbawa, ang sagot niya dun sa tanong about the budget ay lumapit sa akin si Senator Ontiveros noong 2016 asking for my support when she was running for senator. So, anong kinalaman nun doon sa tanong, no? Kaya, at fast forward, kahapon, eh, ginamit na naman niya yung mga non-sequitur na yon, no? Ang sabi niya, anong ginagawa rito ni Congresswoman Franz Castro? Di ba may kaso yan? Di ba convicted yan? So, mahilig sa non-sequitur si Attorney Vice President Sara Duterte. No?
But Secretary Ronald, she's been in politics for a long time, including the father, former President Duterte. So, do you think perhaps she just knows how to navigate her way with politicians as well, in terms of how to answer? And when she says it's politicized, do you think she also has a point that a lot of what's going on, even when you attend budget hearings, a lot of it is politicized?
Well, yes and no. Dahil everything naman sa Pilipinas is political. Even what is personal. Pero dito kasi na-expose yung kanyang sarili. No? At tingin ko, mas negative for her as Vice President. Halimbawa, kahapon, biro mo, inatake niya yung chair na dapat palitan. Tapos, inatake niya all the congressmen, no? Dun sa pagtatanong tungkol sa budget. Kaya medyo na-lecturean siya ni Congressman Abante na ang tingin mo ba ay yung role ng Congress para suriin ang budget ng kahit sino ay appropriate? Sabi niya, no. Sabi ko, no. Eh, yun ang role ng role ng Congress, di ba? Ikalawa, na-lecturean siya ni Congresswoman Luistro. Dahil sabi niya ay walang karapatan ng Congress na hingiin sa COA yung kanilang report tungkol sa aking intelligence budget. Role din ng Congress yun eh. Kaya marami doon mga kongresista na mga abogado rin, abogada, ang na-lecturean siya tungkol sa konstitusyon, tungkol sa alleged separation ng executive at saka legislative. At parang nabigyan siya ng kurso sa basic law. No?
Well,
baka kung nandun ka, ay nakapagbigay ka rin ng lecture tungkol sa mga fundamentals ng...
well, but Vice President Sara Duterte has been enjoying high approval ratings in the past, like regularly. Do you think all of these events in recent months and weeks will have an effect on her approval rating?
Well, ang tingin ko itong kanyang engagement sa Senate at saka dito sa House ay hindi makakatulong sa kanya. Lalo na ay yung kanilang political base ay naubos na. Yung PDP, laban, ay halos wala ng mga miyembro, ng mga kongresista. At mismo yung 4 na senador na miyembro ng PDP ay nabawasan na ng isa, si Francis Tolentino. Ganon din yung hugpo ng pagbabago, yung partido ni Vice President Sara. Naubos na halos yung mga miyembro at yung kakaunting natira ay nasuspindi pa. No? Katulad na ni Governor Hubahib. No? Kaya yun yung una. Yung political base ay na-erode, nag-hemorrhage. Ikalawa ay yung kanyang approval rating. Nitong past few months ay dramatic yung pagbaba. Halimbawa, nitong nakaraang mga araw, sa SWS ay bumaba siya ng 19 points. Sa Oculum survey, bumaba siya ng 19 points in terms of presidential preference naman. At sa Okta ay bumaba siya ng more than 15 points 2 months ago. So, nagpapatuloy yung kanyang pagbaba. At itong pagharap na sa Kongreso, tingin ko ay i-assure na bababa na naman siya sa mga susunod na survey. So, hindi ito nakakatulong sa kanya. Hindi ito nakakatulong. Definitely. At yung mga comments nga ang dami. Libo yung comments. At 98% ay kontra sa asal sa disrespectful na attitude ng presidente sa Senado at saka sa Kongreso. Kaya
And you're talking
definitely...
about comments online?
Yes, comments online.
Na hindi trolls.
At sigurado ko hindi yun mga trolls, no? Nung binabasa ko, no? Pati ako nagulat sa ganong klaseng intensity ng mga comments.
But Secretary Ronald, where does Mindanao fit in here? Because in one of the surveys I was reviewing before, when it comes to the approval rating, they broke it down into Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao.
Yes.
And I seem to recall in Mindanao, she had something like 98% approval rating. So very high support from Mindanao. Do you think that this will also change?
Tingin ko, halimbawa sa isang survey ay 50%. No? So depende kung anong survey firms ang gumagawa. Ikalawa, yung... traditionally ay base nila, yung Visayas, doon dramatic ang pagbaba. At ikatlo, yung Mindanao naman kasi ay may mga clusters ng political influence. Halimbawa, Southern Mindanao, Sarangani, General Santos, South Cotabato, malakas dyan si Senator Pacquiao. No? At tingin ko madideliver niya yan, halimbawa sa eleksyon. At yung BARM, ay very critical naman sa Vice President. Actually, yung leaders ng BARM, hindi dinala si Vice President last election. At halimbawa, nandun pa rin si Senator Subiri, no, sa Bukidnon. So, at ngayon, mismo sa Davao, may kalaban sila. Yung mga Nograles na nag-i-scale up in terms of political engagement sa mga Duterte. So, tingin ko ay hindi nila masusolido ang Mindanao kahit bailiwick nila yon. Halimbawa, yung call for secession ni former President Digong sa Mindanao ay hindi nagkaroon ng traction. Wala silang nahatak ng mga political leaders. Kaya napilitan si former Speaker Bebot Alvarez na bawiin yung kanilang calls for secession. No? So medyo defining yung secession call nila dahil walang sumama.
Well, what does the former President Duterte, have in terms of the effect on the pull of the Dutertes? Because he also has his own personality.
Yes. Well, basically, si Vice President Sara is a creation of the Duterte brand. A creation of the brand of his father. Not entirely because of herself, but because of the dad. Pero ngayon, mismo yung tatay ay bumababa na rin. Halimbawa, 2020, 2021, yung approval rating ni President Digong ay the highest in our history, 91 to 93%. Hindi pa nangyari yun. Pero ngayon, sa senatorial surveys, ay around 40% na lang si Digong. For senatorial, ha? At sabi ng kanilang isang friendly political analyst, si Malutikia ng Publicus, ay nakakatulong yung former president na batakin yung kanyang anak pababa. At kaya nakita mo, these past few months, ay hindi na nagsasalita ang presidente about his daughter. No? Siguro a few days lang siya nagsimulang magsalita na tinrete niya yung Congress na wag i-impeach yung kanyang anak. Pero ayun, nakikita mo na hindi na siya nakakatulong at bumababa rin siya.
So, a few months back when Vice President Sara Duterte said that there will be 3 Dutertes running for Senate, former President Duterte and her brothers Paulo Duterte and Sebastian Duterte. So, do you think this has any merit or is this just a bluff?
Tingin ko yung purpose at that time, ang term na ginamit ko, itaob mo yung lamesa. Dahil defensive ka, humihina kayo, so go on the offensive. Tingin ko yun yung purpose nung kanyang statement, ng 3 Duterte ang tatakbo. At for a while, for a few days, it served its purpose. Na-off-balance yung mga critics niya. Pero later on, nakita natin, mukhang hindi mangyayari. Dahil sa lahat ng surveys, labas yung 2 kapatid niya sa senatorial survey. Si Digong lang ang pasok. At meron silang major battle sa Davao City. Kaya most probably, si Digong ay mananatili doon para labanan yung mga Nograles. Dahil siya lang ang kayang tumalo sa mga Nograles. Even the incumbent mayor, si Baste Duterte, ay mahina. Dahil para siyang absentee mayor eh. Maraming criticism sa kanya. Kaya tingin ko, to secure their bailiwick, baka si ex-president Digong ang lumaban. Baka may isang Duterte na lalaban for senator, pero hindi siya siguradong mananalo. Dahil nga si both Pulong and Baste, labas sa mga surveys, labas sa Magic 12. Kaya tingin ko ay yung tatakbong 3 at most ay isa na lang. At most, baka nga hindi pa.
What about Vice President Sara Duterte running for Senate? There are some who speculate that she would also make for a viable candidate in 2025.
Well, una ay ikaw ang ikalawang pinakamataas na politician sa bansa. So hindi ganun kadali na mag-resign at tumakbo. Pero that is a distinct option. Dahil kung siya ay may impeach, kahit barangay councilor, hindi na siya pwede tumakbo eh. So, kung sigurado yung kanyang impeachment, if I were her, mag-resign ako at tatakbo ko for another position. Mayor sa Davao, na dati naman niyang gusto, or senator. Pero mahihirapan siya as a legislator eh. Hindi ganun yung kanyang skill set. Although hindi ko sigurado kung ano yung kanyang tunay na skill set. Pero as senator, medyo mahihirapan siya. But marami rin senator sa atin na walang skill set eh. Magaling lang kumanta sa kampanya, o magaling lumuhod, o magaling magsuklay ng bigote, pero nandun pa rin sila sa Senado. Kaya baka pwede rin si Vice President Sara.
Okay, well, since you brought up the topic of impeachment, do you think that the recent actions of Vice President Sara, because there have been rumors that Congress wants to impeach her, do you think that this is a challenge to Congress for them to impeach her? But before you answer that question, Secretary Ronald, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. Before the break, Secretary Ronald, we were asking you, do you think that the recent events show that Vice President Sara Duterte is daring Congress to impeach her?
Well, in a couple of times, ay dininayan ng mga kongresista. Pero alam mo naman ang impeachment, dapat mo i-deny until it happens. No? Kaya hindi ko tinitake at face value yung sinasabi ng kongresista na walang impeachment. Ang mas nakikita ko ay yung mga political motivations underneath. Tingin ko ay at this point, they will go for the jugular. Lalo na ngayon na mahina yung kanilang political rivals, yung mga Duterte, na hindi naman tinatago na ang kanilang layunin ay to oust the president. In so many instances, sinabi nila yan. No? At siyempre, ay magkakaroon sila ng counter move from the government. Hindi naman pwedeng lumampas lang yon. Kaya tingin ko the government, or at least the Marcoses and his allies, will go for the jugular. Lalo na ngayon na na-erode yung kanilang political base at nagbababa, nag-unravel yung kanilang approval ratings. Ngayon yung best time para gawin yan, para i-calculate yan, rather than after the midterms, na ang focus ng mga tao ay yung 2028 presidential election. Kaya hindi ako magugulat kung mag-unfold ng mabilis yung impeachment. Alam mo naman, sa Congress, madaling gawin yan eh. Dahil lalo na kung may majority ka. At pagdating sa Senate, for now, yung mga 8 na pwedeng pumigil sa impeachment ay wala na. Dahil nga yung 4 doon ay lumipat na sa administrasyon. So ang natitira na lang, 3 to 4. So ibig sabihin, pwedeng mabilisan na ma-impeach ang Vice President. No? Kaya alam mo naman sa Pilipinas, it's a blood sport. Politics is a blood sport. At no less than the Dutertes knows this. Si ex-President Digong ang epitome or symbol ng blood sport. Figuratively as well as literally. No? Kaya nga meron siyang kaso sa ICC for crimes against humanity. Dahil dyan sa pagiging literally involved sa blood sport sa tokhang. No? Kaya aasahan natin ito sa ating politika.
But Secretary Ronald, if we were to go back to impeachment, do you think there are really any impeachable grounds against Vice President Sara?
Well, alam mo naman na, Karen, ang impeachment is not just a legal process. It's a political process. So, tingin ko ay hindi ganun kahirap maghanap ng dahilan. Halimbawa, itong nakasalang sa Supreme Court tungkol sa kanyang intelligence fund, yung paggamit ng 125 million in 11 days. Yung hinihingi ng Congress na COA report. No? Kung ibibigay ng COA, that can be a basis. Ikatlo, yung testimony ni former Davao Death Squad Las Cañas, police officer Las Cañas, na isinama niya si Vice President Sara dun sa kanyang kaso sa crimes against humanity as early as 2018. So, pwede kang kumuha ng mga dahilan for impeachment. Whether that is impeachable, ay bahala na yung Senate. No?
Which again is going to be very political.
Yes, exactly. At alam mo yan, Karen, dahil ikaw ay dating spokesperson ng first Chief Justice to be impeached.
Yes, I was in the defense team, you're correct. And so, if that were to happen, do you think this can also backfire on Congress and Senate if they were to impeach Vice President Sara?
Well, sabi ko nga, ito, baka for them, this is the right time to go for the jugular. Dahil nga, yung approval rating ni Vice President at yung mga Duterte ay record low at nagpapatuloy bumaba. At yung kanilang political base na magdedepensa sa kanila ay naubos na. Halimbawa, kahit dun sa raid sa kay Kibuloy, ay hindi ganun karami yung nagdepensa kay Kibuloy. Yung rally nila kahapon dito sa Liwasang Bonifacio na balak lumusob sa Malacanang ay isang platitong mali. No, marami na 100. Led by ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque, no, na mukhang guest mo rito before, no. Kaya duda ako kung yung kanilang proposal na call ni Harry Roque last week na people power sa EDSA Shrine na 5 yung people na kasama niya ay magpa-prosper, no. At itong call ng mga KOJC na pabagsakin ang presidente with 80, 100 people, mahirap gawin 'yon.
Well, it seemed like there were a lot of people at the Davao rally when the PNP and the KOJC members were having some sort of a standoff. But you don't think that this can rise to the level of people power. Do you ever see people power happening again in the Philippines?
Well, it's always a possibility. But at this time, with the unraveling of the Duterte brand, baka mahirapan. At yun yung nakikita natin sa surveys, yun yung nakikita natin sa erosion ng kanilang political base, at yun yung nakikita natin sa kanilang mga mobilization. Halimbawa, before the SONA, nag-call yung Maysug ng rally. At ang dumalo sa Edges Line ay less than 100. Tapos yung dumalo sa Liwasang Bonifacio ay less than 200. Tapos yung kanilang inaasahang trigger na magti-trigger ng people power, yung pulburon video, fell flat. Diba? Siguro 1-2 days lang yung traction, tapos nawala na. Yun yung inaasahan nilang trigger. So they have to plan more efficiently. No? Parang kahapon, yung congressional hearing, nung simula ay on the offensive si Vice President at yung kanyang 3-4 na supporters. Pero later on, hindi na na-sustain. No? Medyo tumama na sa kanyang sarili yung kanyang mga banat. Biro mo, asking the chair na palitan, no? Tapos asking congressman to inhibit themselves from asking her questions. Medyo ngayon ako nakakita ng ganun. Hindi ko alam ikaw, pero sa 40 years ko sa politics, ngayon ako nakakita ng ganung klase. At sumabog sa mukha niya yung kanyang antics yesterday. No? Mukhang simple lang yung mga tanong sa kanya, hindi pa masagot. Ngayon ako nakakita na defer yung budget ng Vice President. Usually, smooth sailing yan eh. No? Pero yesterday, na-defer.
But she is in the opposition at this moment, at least when it comes to the administration, she is perceived to be in the opposition. So it's not surprising, I suppose, that her budget was deferred in that sense. But with the administration having also the resources, or traditionally in the Philippines, if you're the president and you hold the administration, you have the resources with you. Do you think this also helps in terms of stamping out any negative publicity?
I doubt it. No? Dahil nga, una, ay na-identify siya as an icon ng intelligence at saka confidential fund in their hundreds of millions. Kaya nahirapan siya ipaliwanag yesterday. Yung, biro mo, yung 125 million, eksakto yung report, walang kulang, walang bawas. Parang mathematically impossible naman yun, na ganun ka-eksakto. Lalo na, most of your funds are underutilized. Pero yung intelligence at saka confidential fund, 125 million, eksakto yung nagastos. No? Kaya, very suspicious yun. Mahihirapan siyang depensahan yun. No? At ikalawa, yung duplication ng kanyang nung 2 billion budget niya with DSWD, with DOLE, with DOH, ang hirap din ipaliwanag. At yung atake nila, halimbawa ni former President Arroyo, na hindi pwede yan. Dapat ang pag-usapan lang ay yung 2025 budget, yung pinapropose. Alam naman ni former Speaker Arroyo na ginagawa yun eh. Kino-compare yung previous years. Pinapakita yung mga dotted lines para ma-compare at masuri na maigi. Ang expert yan ay si Senator Ping Lacson. Binabalikan talaga niya ng several years para ipakita yung mga lump sum, para ipakita yung duplication. No? Para hindi lang duplication, quadruple pa nga yung sabi niya. Kaya ginagawa yan, hindi yan bago. Hindi yan political harassment. Sabi nga ni Vice President, kinocrucify niyo ako by asking those questions. Medyo mali. Dahil yun talaga ang role ng Congress. At ginagawa yun before.
Well, when we talk about President Marcos's pulveron video, when you said it fell flat on its face when it was released,
yes.
Do you think that him being the president and having also the administration's resources within his control contributes to having negative publicity not prosper?
Well, nakakatulong yon. No? Pero kung very compelling yung atake, halimbawa itong PhilHealth issue, ang hirap din sa administration na depensahan. Imagine mo kahapon, 6 former finance secretary went on the defense kay Finance Secretary Recto. No? Ibig sabihin, nasasaktan sila dito. Kaya kung medyo maganda at very compelling yung iyong atake, yung iyong criticism sa gobyerno, it will work. Pero itong pulburon parang sa panahon ng artificial intelligence, sa panahon ng deepfake, no, I really was anything but a trigger. Yun ang inaasahan nila dahil may build up yung pulburon since last year, kung maalala mo eh. No? Muntik na nga maging urban legend yung pulburon dahil hindi naman lumalabas. Pero nung lumabas, oops, yun pala yun. No?
Well, when we talk about Congress, the Speaker of the House is the cousin of the President, Martin Romualdez.
Yes.
But he's been quiet. He hasn't said anything to criticize Vice President Sara. But a lot of people are saying that he's behind the demolition job against the Dutertes. What is your take on that?
Well, hindi ako magugulat dahil wala naman nangyayari sa House na hindi alam ng Speaker o walang blessing ng Speaker. Pero, as a speaker, pinabayaan niya yung mga tao niya to do the work. Dahil yun naman ang role ng mga kongresista. No? Kaya nauunawaan ko yung ganyang klaseng role. Hindi, almawa, hindi ako necessarily approve doon, pero yun yung tactical role ng speaker na wag muna ikaw ang humarap. Pabayaan mo muna dahil more than 300 yung kongresista. Sila muna yung magtanong. At nung simula, kahit kakaunti yung supporter ni Vice President kahapon, ay medyo effective yung kanilang line of attack, no? Na kinukrucify siya at going on the offensive at explaining away yung confidential at intelligence fund. Pero after a few minutes, nahirapan na sila. Mismo sila nahirapan na. At yung conduct ng Vice President, nalagay din sa lugar yung kanyang mga defender. I doubt kung in the next hearing, ay ganun pa rin yung intensity nila ng defense kay Vice President Sara. Dahil mukhang mahihirapan na sila. At syempre, dahil sila ay mga kongresista, kailangan din nila yung respect ng kanilang peers. Baka ma-isolate din sila sa House. Kaya I doubt kung yung ginawa nila kahapon ay gagawin nila uli sa next hearing.
Do you think Speaker Martin Romualdez has any plans to run for higher office in 2028 as President or Vice President?
Ang tingin ko meron. Pero ano yung kanyang actual plans ay almost 4 years from now, ay hindi ko alam. Hindi ako privy. Pero from my vantage point, tingin ko ay balak niyang tumakbo as President or Vice President.
With everything happening now, do you think Vice President Sara will run for President in 2028?
Well, at tingin ko nagsisisi na sila na bakit hindi sila tumakbo for
As
President
President
noong 2022. At ang tingin ko, ang kanilang calculation, yung makakasalba lang sa kanila ay for Vice President Sara to run for President. Dahil kung titignan mo, Karen, ang hinaharap nila ngayon is an existential crisis. Yung very survival nila ay nakataya. No? Yung quad hearing sa Congress, inimplicate na yung kapatid at yung asawa ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Yung kanilang spokesperson, si ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque, ay nasa bingit na nakasuhan, no? Ng maraming kaso na hindi lang criminal, kundi even disbarment. No? At ikatlo, ay yung Vice President ay baka ma-impeach. At kung ma-impeach siya, hindi na siya makakatakbo for any elective office. At ikaapat, yung International Criminal Court may be coming sooner than later. So yung apat na yan ay pinapakita na yung kanilang crisis ay existential. Their very survival ay nakataya. So ang primary response nila ay i-weather yung storm, yung midterm, mag-survive, at inaasahan nila, after the midterm, sila pa rin ang pinakamataas going into the presidential election in 2028. At tingin nila, yung mga umalis sa kanila ay magbabalikan. Dahil alam mo naman, very cynical yung Philippine politics. It's about permanent interest. No? Walang permanent enemies, walang permanent friends. At yun ang inaasahan nila. Ang problema ay bumababa rin yung kanilang approval rating. Bumababa rin yung presidential preference for Sara. Kaya hindi sila nakakasigurado, even if they survive the midterms, kung sila pa rin ang frontliner.
You mentioned a lot of, well, Quadcom hearings and then ICC case.
Impeachment.
And now you have the TRICOM hearings.
Yeah.
All of these have, some complaints that are supposedly legally based. Do you think this is all a coincidence, that the timing is now when you say that the approval ratings of the Dutertes are dropping, and this came after the UNITEAM also broke up? So do you think this is all a coincidence in terms of timing, that there's suddenly a heightened investigation against POGOs? Suddenly the Philippines is more welcoming to ICC coming in to investigate? Or do you think this is part of a wide political strategy from the administration ever since the UNITEAM broke up?
Well, in Philippine politics, hindi uso ang coincidences. No? Karamihan dito are political calculations. At ito ay nangyayari dahil nung panahon, yung 6 years si Duterte, lahat takot. Itong EJK naman, nangyayari ito . Nung September 2017 nga, na accomplishment report ng Malacanang, lumalabas na accomplishment report yung 20,000 na patay. 4,000 sa police actions at 16,000 sa extrajudicial killings. Report yan ng Malacanang at ginamit yan ng Supreme Court. So, yan ay hindi ma-question ng panahon na yon except for a few opposition. No? Ngayon ay dahil hindi na sila gobyerno, ay naglalabasan na. Halimbawa, yung Pogo, parang mushroom yan na nag-flourish nung 6 years ni Digong. May ginawa pang ang batas dyan para sila ay mas mabilis pumasok. Pero ngayon ay na-expose na itong mga Pogo. Human trafficking, money laundering, criminal activities, drugs, even a torture chamber. No? Gulat nga ako nung ginagawa ni Mr. Supranational doon sa Porac. No? Pero yan yung ibig sabihin na wala ka na sa kapangyarihan, hindi na takot sa iyo yung mga tao, pwede na yan lumabas. At ngayon ay lumalabas. At for me, positive yan. Dahil kahit naman nung 6 years ni Digong, alam natin na nandun yun Pero nga, dahil takot yung mga tao, ay hindi masyadong lumalabas. Mga bishops lang yung naglalabas at a few opposition. No? Pero ngayon, naglalabasan na yan, at kahit yan ay bahagi ng political calculation, mahirap depensahan dahil may pruweba May mga whistleblowers, may mga testigo na dati ayaw lumabas. Parang sa ICC, yung testimony ni Las Cañas ay meron lang pumunta ron na nagko-corroborate na nakalabas ng Pilipinas. So, medyo mahihirapan sila dito sa ICC. Lalo na kung yung nagpo-propose na lawyer nila, sa ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque, ay maraming problema rito. No, ang sabi ni Harry Roque, siya yung magde-defend kay Digong sa ICC. Baka mismo siya mahirapan, lalo na kung siya ay ma-disbar. Sana naman hindi mangyari. Pero may ganung mga moves.
So you think it would be difficult for Attorney Harry Roque to get out of all of these well, I don't know if to call it a mess, but all the connections that are being made to him when it comes to Pogo operations?
Sumisikip na yung kanyang mundo At yung kanyang mga attempts sa squid tactics sa Senate at saka sa House before ay hindi na umuubra. At tingin ko nagpa-pile up yung evidence against him. So, hindi lang ito criminal case, a possible disbarment case. Na mukhang si Congresswoman Luistro ay sineset yung predicate papunta ron. No?
Another figure that people have difficulty in terms of placing or analyzing is the sister of the president, Senator Amy Marcos. And she's going to run for re-election in 2025. But in your opinion, is she really a Duterte ally or a political Trojan horse? But before you answer that question, Secretary Ronald, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the forefront. Before the break, Secretary Ronald, we were asking you, Senator Amy Marcos, she's up for re-elections in 2025, but a lot of people are still confused. Is she a Duterte ally or a political Trojan horse?
It could be both. No? Amy is playing a very dangerous game for her political future. Halimbawa, nasa administration slate siya, malamang, because she's still a Marcos. Medyo nakakahiya naman na nandun siya sa kabila. So kukunin siya ng administrasyon, lalo na ng nasyonalista na nag-join na sa administration, sa kanilang Senate slate. Pero at the same time, ilang beses na sinabi, kahit mag-isa na lang akong natitira, hindi ko iiwan ang mga Duterte, si Digong at saka si Sara. Pero yung isang Duterte, si Baste, at yung isang spokesperson, si Panelo, binabanatan siya. So, hindi rin siya nakakasigurado sa mga Duterte. Pag nasobrahan ka ng laro, sobrang pamamangka sa dalawang ilog, baka yung dalawang ilog, iwanan ka. Baka yung administration, kasama ka sa slate, pero ilalaglag ka. At yung mga Duterte, dahil nasa administration slate ka at may bumabanat sa'yo from their side, ay baka ilaglag ka rin. Kaya medyo delikado yung role ni Amy. Lalo na, wala naman siya sa top 6. Kung nasa top 6 ka, kahit papano, medyo nakakasigurado ka na kahit anong mangyari, kahit ilaglag ka, ipapasok ka. Pero hindi siya nasa top 6 Minsan nandun siya sa 8 to 12. Delikado yon, no? Ang inuulit ko, pag nasobrahan ka sa pamamangka sa dalawang ilog, no, ay baka ilaglag ka ng dalawang ilog. Baka iwanan ka.
How is her relationship with President Bongbong Marcos?
Well, definitely outside the Kulambu siya. Sinabi ko na yan as early as 2022 nung unang SONA. Nag-press con siya ng umaga, advising the President kung ano yung dapat sabihin. Ni isa sa kanyang sinabi sa kanyang press con, hindi sinabi ng kanyang kapatid. At as early as 2022, nakikita na natin na yung dynamics na with the First Lady. Parang they don't like each other. At ngayon, nitong past 2 years, ay malinaw na malinaw yon. At medyo significant yung role ng First Lady politically sa gobyerno ni Bongbong kahit wala siyang official function. No? Kaya tingin ko ay yung First Lady ay hindi na makakabalik sa good graces ng kanyang kapatid, lalong-lalo na ng First Lady. Pero kailangan siyang isama sa slate because she's a Marcos. No? Kaya tingin ko, yun yung mangyayari.
There are others who have also mentioned the possibility of First Lady Lisa Marcos running for Senate in 2025 or 2028. Do you see this as a possibility?
Well, lumabas na yan as early as 2022 Pero duda ako kung yan ang magiging role ng First Lady. Dahil kahit unelected siya, ay significant yung kanyang role. Halimbawa, nung February ba yun? Or March? Nung sinagot niya si Sara, anong ginagawa mo doon sa rally ng iyong tatay, ng iyong mga kapatid, na hinihingi na ibagsak ang aking asawa at tinawag pa siyang bangag? That was a defining moment. Tingin ko, at that time, ay bilang na yung oras ni Vice President Sara Duterte as part of the official family, as head of the biggest department sa gobyerno, yung DepEd. Tingin ko, at that moment, ay sigurado na siya ay matatanggal o siya mismo ang mag-resign. At yun nga nangyari.
So when you're saying that the role of the First Lady is significant in this administration, you mean to say that if she's not in good terms with someone, like in this case with the sister, Senator Amy Marcos, or with Vice President Sara, then they tend to be eased out of the Kulambo or out of the circle?
Yeah. Tingin ko, kahit unofficial yung kanyang role, ay very significant. Lalo na from 2022 hanggang sa kasalukuyan, bakante yung posisyon ng political affairs na dapat ay tumutulong sana sa presidente sa ganitong mga bagay. Tapos, wala akong nakikitang political strategies or political tactician sa Malacanang up to now. At ikatlo, ngayon lang binuo yung ruling coalition. Usually, nabubuo ka ng ruling party or ruling coalition immediately after winning. At ito ay hindi simpleng victory. Ito ay pinaka-historic na victory, ganun kalaki. Pero afterwards, wala kang nakitang ruling party na malinaw at saka wala kang nakitang ruling coalition. Ngayon palang binubuo. Kaya in that 2 years, napakalaki ng political vacuum. Sino nag-fill niyan, political vacuum niyan? The Speaker, na elected, at most probably the First Lady, na unelected. Kaya hindi na kinakailangan tumakbo para magkaroon ng significant role. Duda ako kung may ganun siyang balak to be just one of 24 sa Senado. Especially with all those clowns there. No? Ay, duda ako kung pipila siya ron.
So you're saying that right now, it seems like it's the First Lady who's fulfilling the role of being the political advisor to the President?
Partly, no? Dahil tingin ko yung Speaker ay malaki rin yung role. At yung Presidente ay may sariling conduct. Siya ay conflict averse, siya ay passive-aggressive, pero lahat ito ay nangyayari with his blessing.
President Benigno Aquino III had you serve his full term as President with you as the Secretary for Political Affairs. But in the past 2 administrations, President Duterte and then now with President Bongbong Marcos, as you mentioned, this position has been unfilled. What was the nature of your role? So what does the Secretary for Political Affairs do?
Well, una correction lang. Nung panahon ni Digong, meron. Si Francis Tolentino ang political affairs
later.
noon. Yes, yes.
But that was like the latter part, maybe last 2 years?
Actually, first part. No?
First
Dahil
part,
tumakbo
okay.
siya for senator afterwards. No? So yun yung meron naman. No? Pero parang vacant din. Dahil hindi naman nakikinig si Digong sa political advisor. No? Parang ganun din si BBM. No? Na chill lang siya. Gusto niyang bumiyahe, gusto niyang ma-meet yung mga VIP, mga heads of state, pero kayo na bahala dyan. Kayo na bahala. At ang nagfi-fill ng role ngayon, katulad nga sinabi ko kanina, is the Speaker and the First Lady. Ngayon yung role ko, yung political affairs ay pwedeng maging significant depende sa ibibigay na functions ng presidente. Halimbawa, noong panahon ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, si Gabby Claudio is very significant. Lalo na kung may impeachment move labang kay Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Nakikita ko siya sa House, nakatayo no? Parang commander-in-chief. No? So, depende sa ibibigay sa yung role ng presidente. Noong panahon ko, 4 yung functions ng political affairs. Isa ay legislative liaison with Congress at saka Senate, no? Pag inutos ng presidente, kausapin mo ito, na kongresista, ganyan. No? Ikalawa ay sectoral relations, no? Labor, business, etc. No? Ikaw yung umuugnay. Ikatlo ay political intelligence. Kailangan mong dalin yung tenga ng presidente sa lupa, na yung naririnig niya, yung minsan yung ayaw niya marinig. Kaya very unpopular ka sa presidente at even sa cabinet. Dahil yung mga cabinet secretaries, dinedepensahan yung kanya-kanyang department, so medyo may pagka-yes men, yes women sila sa presidente. Yung political affairs, ang role niya ay sabihin sa presidente yung ayaw niyang marinig. No? Kung napanood mo yung West Wing, ganun yung role ng advisors. Pero yung pinakamahalaga, siguro at least 80% ng role ng political affairs ay special concerns. Ibig sabihin, undefined. Depende kung ano yung papagawa sa'yo ng presidente. Hindi ko nasasabihin kung ano yun.
So if you were the Secretary for Political Affairs or political advisor of current President Bongbong Marcos, would you have advised him to keep his relationship with the Dutertes and the UNI team intact?
Well, depende. Kung gusto ko kasi ng continuity, no? At tatalikuran ko yung promisa ko sa Vice President na siya ang aking successor, then I will act differently. Ikalawa, kung yung Vice President, yung kanyang pamilya at yung kanyang allies ay gusto na akong i-oust, mamadaliin ko na durugin sila. No? Kaya hindi ako magugulat sa nangyayari ngayon. Kung narinig mo yung rant ni Digong last January 28 sa Davao at successive prayer rallies without the prayer. No, ngayon ako nakakita ng gano'n. Lahat ng pwede mong ibato sa incumbent president, lahat ng threats ay ginawa ni Digong. Insurrection, destabilization, coup, mutiny, secession, even a hint of assassination. Sabi niya nung January 28, buti na lang hindi na ako presidente, kundi natokhan ko yan. Tapos fast forward, sabi ng kanyang anak, si Baste, baka mangyari dyan yung nangyari sa Romanov sa Russia at kay Mussolini sa Italy ng World War II. Ano ba nangyari sa kanila? Minasaker. So hindi nga siya veiled threat open threat siya. Siyempre, kahit passive-aggressive yung presidente, kahit conflict-averse, hindi naman niya, he won't take this sitting down. Dahil survival hindi lang niya, kung hindi ng kanyang official family at ng kanyang tunay na pamilya ang at stake. Pero mo tinreten ka ng ganong karami at kinonfirm niya ni AFP Chief of Staff Browner last year na meron talagang destabilization plots. Hindi siya katang-isip. Kaya talagang if I were them, I would go for the jugular. Dahil yung mismong survival ko ang at stake.
But let's take a step back. What caused this rift between the Dutertes and the Marcoses? Why did the UNI team break up in the first place?
Well, nung simula pa lang, after the elections, ay makikita mo na yung cracks na nakita na nag-unravel ngayon. Halimbawa, hindi kinuwang speaker si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Galit na galit si GMA doon. At siya yung mentor at advisor ni Sara. Ikalawa, hindi binigay yung gustong cabinet position kay Sara. Yung defense portfolio. Binigay sa kanya yung DepEd. Medyo nag-rankle din yon. At ikatlo, yung nabanggit ko nga kanina, outside the Colombo, yung presidential sister, na BFF ni Sara at saka ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So makikita mo, yung kanilang kampo, nagsisimula ng maging disgusted sa naipanalo nila ng presidente. At by December, ay lumala na yan. Dahil tinanggal na si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo as Deputy Speaker. At galit na galit si Vice President Sara Duterte. Tinawag niya nung pinakamasamang pwede mong itawag sa isang tao, si Speaker Romualdez, tambaluslos. Kaya nga nung in-interview ako noon, sabi ko, this will define Philippine politics for the next few years going into 2028, the tambaluslos moment. Ang tingin ko at that time, wala nang turning back. No? Very antagonistic na ang relasyon ng Vice President, hindi lang sa Speaker. Dahil yung lahat ng ginagawa ng Speaker ay may bendisyon ng Presidente. So since then, nawala yung confidential fund, totally tinanggal na si Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo as Speaker, lumabas na yung mga banat ng kanyang tatay, at binanata na siya doon sa kanyang pagiging pro-China, etc., etc. Until nung end of 2023, si former human rights lawyer Harry Roque, inamin na itong pagpasok ng ICC ay hindi lang dahil sa Speaker, dahil sa Presidente mismo. So yun talaga, existential na. That December 2023. Yung existence ng mga Duterte ang nakataya na. Kaya they went on the offensive this year with all those prayer rallies, with all those rallies in Miliwasang Bonifacio, calling for the ouster of the President. Anong ginagawa ng Vice President sa official family? Kung lahat ng kanyang allies, yung kanyang pamilya, are calling for the ouster of her boss. Kaya it was just a matter of time bago siya mawala sa cabinet, sa DepEd.
Well, the 2025 elections, midterm elections, is just around the corner. And we have some allies of former President Duterte running for re-election. And we have Senator Bato de la Rosa and Senator Bongo
As
still staying,
re-electionists.
yes, and
Yeah.
still staying with the PDP.
Yes.
They haven't, at least, they haven't left the party of former President Duterte. Do you think that these events will affect their chances of winning in 2025?
Tingin ko, dahil mismo si Bongo bumababa sa ratings. Dati, number 2, number 3 siya sa Senate ratings. Ngayon ay number 5, number 6. Si Bato ay nasa dulo. So, delikado sila. Lalo na kung bumababa rin yung reason kung bakit sila nanalo before, si Digong. No? So, at ikalawa, the elephant in the room, yung ICC. Dahil huwag mong kalimutan, nakasama sa kaso sa ICC si Bato at saka si Bongo. So, baka isa sa kanila o silang dalawa ay kunin before the elections, no? Kung papayagan ng gobyerno. So, mababawasan. Si Francis Tolentino nasa administrasyon no? Nasa Partido Federal na yata. So, tapos isang tatakbo sa kanila, si Philip Salvador. Malakas yun. Baka gayahin niya si Robin Hood Padilla na kumanta sa kampanya. No? At inaasahan niya mananalo siya by singing, no? Or sasayaw siya, no? Alam mo naman, posible 'yan. Pero makikita mo uphill ngayon ng mga Duterte sa Senate. Hindi ko nga alam kung mapupunuan nila yung kanilang slate. Baka patakbuhin si Panelo, baka patakbuhin si Harry Roque, baka patakbuhin si Badoy, no? Pero imagine mo, almost impossible na manalo 'yon.
When we're looking at the future, 2028, who do you think would be a viable candidate? Raffy Tulfo is leading the surveys. Do you think he can be a potential presidentiable?
Well, una, halimbawa sa Okta survey before, yung latest ay 36% ay pro-Marcos. No? 15 or 14% ay pro-Duterte. Bumaba. Tapos, 31% ay neither. 31% at 11% undecided at 6% sa opposition. That's 50%. At mukhang yung 50% na yan, nag-shift towards Tulfo. In this case, Senator Raffy Tulfo. Kaya nga yung isang Okta survey, lamang na si Raffy Tulfo kay Sara for the first time. For now, ay yan yung latag sa presidential preference. Pero sa ating history, political history, may lumalabas na black swan. Bilang may sumusulpot na, halimbawa, wala naman si Digong sa race noong 2016 Binay, Grace Po, Marojas ang nagdo-dominate before the election. Bigla siyang sumulpot. Si even Pinoy, wala siya sa 2010 election, no? Kahit siya, nagulat siya. Pero dahil namatay yung kanyang nanay, bigla siyang napunta sa forefront. So, nangyayari yan sa ating political history. So, posible, usually, yung hindi nagpaplano, Yun yung lumalabas. Kahit noong 92 it was almost Miriam at saka ang nanalo eventually sa FBR. Pero ang matagal naghahanda, si Mitra. Noong 98, ang matagal naghahanda, si De Venecia. No? So, ganun yung ating political history. Kaya hindi ako magugulat, in the next 3 to 4 years, may sumulpot na black swan. Sinasabi ko, sa ngayon, ito yung latag. Tulpo brand versus Duterte brand. At mukhang pababa yung Duterte brand, pataas yung Tulpo brand. But who knows? Matagal pa 3 years pa. No?
Yeah, very exciting times ahead. Who do you think can be a potential black swan? There are rumors that Senator Risa Ontiveros is being groomed by the Liberal Party as a potential presidential candidate. Do you think she can be a potential black swan?
Yes, that is a distinct possibility. Lalo na kung dumadami yung neither Duterte nor Marcos. No? Pero she has to create a brand. Dahil ang labanan dito, brand Parang yung mga tulpo, ano yung brand nila? Ipatulpo mo. Lahat, kahit dito sa studio, pag may reklamo, ang ganda lang sasabihin, ipapatulpo kita. Di ba? Naging brand siya So, kailangan ni Risa ng similar brand which will define her. Lalo na sa DNE, who is almost 90% of voters. Di ba? Yun yung hinahanap nila, a street fighter, a brand. No? Yun yung kanilang tingin ko iboboto. It's not necessarily about substance. It's not necessarily about platforms and principles and visions. It's about a brand. Tingin ko hindi yan masyado magbabago going into the 2028 presidential election.
Well, with the strong Tulfo brand, do you think it's possible to have two Tulfo brothers in the Senate by 2025? Meaning two additional Tulfo brothers like Ben Tulfo and Erwin Tulfo. They're both entering the top 5 in the surveys.
That is very possible. Dahil in all surveys, number 1 si Erwin Tulfo. At si Ben Tulfo ay either number 2 or number 4. So, that is very possible. Because of the brand. Inuulit ko, it's about a brand. No?
So do you think the 2025 elections has a critical role in determining what's going to happen in 2028?
Yes and no. Dahil mahalaga yan. Dahil usually ang midterm is a plebiscite on the president. Diba? It's a referendum on the government. Kaya most probably with all that power ay at least 10 baka ma-sweep nila. If not 11. No? Pero at the same time, the possibility of a black swan afterwards ay pwedeng mangyari. No? Dahil yun yung nature ng ating politics. Populist. No, ay biglang susulpot and will define the landscape. Hindi ako magugulat na merong ganun.
Thank you so much, Secretary Ronald Llamas. Very insightful today, the discussions, and now I see why you were Secretary for Political Affairs for a whole administration. Thank you so much.
Maraming salamat sa ating huntahan. No?
Well, we hope to have you back again soon.
Yeah. Anytime.
Political lines have been drawn from previously being part of the Uniteam with President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara, but now Vice President Sara is on the other side of the fence. She is now getting the opposition treatment 2.5 years after the 2022 elections. While rumors of impending impeachment on Vice President Sara circle around, Congress denies this, hesitant in pulling the trigger lest it turns the tide in favor of VP Sara. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for meaningful conversations that would help you form an objective personal opinion. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.